the Record now continues.
Welcome back. Earlier this week, President Trump sat down with Russia's President Vladimir Putin, sparking some strong responses from both parties after what many are calling an unforgettable news conference that followed, and Americans are responding after the president announced his nominee for Supreme Court Justice. These are all things to talk about this morning with Democratic political consultant Kevin Perkins and Rock Island County Republican Party Chair Drue Mielke. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
President Trump's meeting with Putin has sparked a whirlwind of responses across the country this week. In the days following the meeting, the president has been criticized by both parties for implying trust in Putin, refusing to say either way if Russia meddled in the 2016 election, and giving conflicting responses in the days that followed. And those are just kind of a few things going around. And now the latest development is that there's discussion underway for Trump to invite Putin to Washington in the fall. So I guess, what were your takeaways from the meeting, and, what do you think it means for the country?
Well, I think it's a good thing that he is inviting to Washington. I'm not so sure about the White House. But I think, Russia is not a friend. They are a competitor on the world stage. They always have been. They are a nuclear power that we need to have good relations with. And I think that Trump is working from a position of strength.
Well, I think that the meeting itself, we have no idea what was agreed to. And so until we know that, we can't say one way or the other if it was good or not that we're meeting with him. We're meeting in secret, and we don't know the deliverables that we, as United States, are giving a foe. So we need to know that. How we get to know that, I don't know. So until that happens, I don't really see a good thing for us meeting him, bringing him here, putting him on the same level as United States, and treating him better than we treated our allies recently from this administration.
So just a quick follow-up on that. I mean, seeing all of the responses we've seen this week, I mean, do you think then that it's too early to be having these responses or having these reactions?
I really think that people are interpreting this as like a cozy relationship, and I don't see that at all. I see that he met privately with Putin. I don't see a problem with that. I don't think people are assuming that things came out of there that didn't. I don't know of anything that came out of those meetings. But I think it's I think it will be a good thing that we have good relations with Russia. Trump ran on that. If I recall, also Hillary Clinton ran on that. So having good relations with Russia is in our country's best interest. And that's his goal.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that doesn't mean that you go into a meeting in private without any sort of agenda, and you have the Russian Federation now saying that there were things agreed to that we have no idea that they've been agreed to or not. So that's a problem for our national security. And for somebody that agrees to do that, in my mind, if they're Republican, Democrat, Independent, doesn't matter, you're complicit in undermining our national security, and that can't happen.
All right, we could talk about this, I think, for the entire discussion, but we're going to try to cover a few more things real quick. So what do you okay, well, we actually talked about this already, about, Putin being invited to the White House, and that's not the only thing that's kind of a hot button issue right now. We're also talking about President's nominee for Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh, and, the conservative pick has raised some concerns about the U.S. over the fate of major issues, including gay rights, abortion rights, and the death penalty, just to name a few. And in the most recent development, a recent poll showed low support for Kavanaugh's confirmation, with 41% of Americans voting in support and 37% voting in opposition. What do you think what issues do you think are at most risk going forward if he is confirmed? And I guess, what do you think about these polls coming in? Does that hurt his chances?
I don't. I think if people have an issue, they can talk to their congressman. But I think this is a very good choice. He's a constitutional conservative. He's not going to legislate from the bench. He's going to interpret the Constitution as it is written. I think those are all good things that we need in the Supreme Court.
First off, I'd just like to say, in I think February of 2016, when Justice Scalia unfortunately passed away, I was in Michigan working with a campaign there, and we thought, the Democrats, that we had another, pick on the Supreme Court. That didn't work out. There's precedents now set that there's an election coming up in 2018 where there's a possibility that the House and the Senate could be flipped. So I don't think we even need to have any confirmations until after the election. That being said, okay, this nominee is a good nominee for the president. because he is a constitutional conservative, and he's come out in opposition of the Morris v. Olson case, which basically upheld an independent counsel being constitutionally right, and he's against that. So this is good for the president, particularly with the special counsel, what's going on right now. So I think it's a good pick for President Trump. I don't think it's a good pick for the country.
Well, I disagree that precedence was only on presidential elections, not midterm elections. So I disagree on that.
It's an election that can change the Congress, and it's an election, in my opinion, okay, that is important enough to delay this confirmation
I don't see
hearing.
any reason to delay.
But that's your own
That's fine.
Okay, you guys, thank you very much. And we're kind of shifting gears a little bit here, but the latest development in the U.S. trade war has created fear within the automobile industry. President Trump is considering a 20 to 25% tariff on foreign cars and their parts, sparking concerns over increased costs, delay in innovation, and thousands of layoffs in American jobs. And here at home, a new study shows that it could raise the cost of a new car in the U.S. by thousands of dollars. And while some in the industry say they would like to see something done to improve trade, many say this isn't the answer. What do you guys think about this proposed tariff, I guess, in the latest proposed tariffs?
My immediate concerns are right here in the Quad Cities, being the local chairman and also elected official here in the Quad Cities. I'm concerned about what are the implications for farm implements. What are the implications for our ag industry, our farmers, our trade with China? Don't get me wrong. I think we have very unfair trade agreements, and they need to be dealt with. And I think that maybe President Trump is using this as leverage with the EU and with China to get better trade deals. It's not a level playing field. It hasn't been in years.
Well, I don't disagree with what you say in regards to the impact it could have here in the Quad Cities and our country. You have all the business development people are against this. If you look at the steel and the aluminum tariffs, which are nothing more than taxes on things coming into this country, that has already had a negative impact. I know of a company in Missouri that has to shut down. They make nails, and the cost of their product, is too high. They're going to have to shut down. And this trade war just can't go on. You have farmers even here in Iowa now that are saying the prices of soybean and pork, and you have an impact, maybe an unforeseen consequence that President Trump didn't think of, but it's going to hurt our economy in the long run, I think. It's nothing more than a tax, a tariff. And so when you tax something coming in, guess what? The folks here are going to have to end up paying for that increase in the cost, because our cars, 2/3 of our cars are using foreign parts anyway. And that is just going to increase the cost, and it's not going to be good. Any advantage that the tax breaks that we've had recently are going to be wiped out by this. So I think they need to back off this and rethink and maybe have a little more targeted approach to this.
Strangely, the UAW, and maybe not strangely, but I agree with the UAW, though. UAW is favored looking at this because we've seen in this area jobs going to Mexico, overseas. Look what happened in Galesburg. So that's a concern. The UAW is looking at this as a positive. I'm open to seeing what it's going to bring, but those are my concerns.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. You guys, thank you so much for being here today.